Welcome back to the Ultraviolet Tide. I am here with another founder, Valerie Schimel of JOJU. Valerie, welcome to the Ultraviolet Tide.
Thank you. So happy to be here today.
I'm happy to have you and sit down with another founder. As we were kind of talking before we led into today's episode, I feel like the average UPF 50 plus consumer has 5 to 10 different brands in their closet. So we are always looking for kind of new sun protective brands. And I'm going to give a brief introduction into you and your brand before we really kick things off and get to know a little bit more about you. So since 2022, JOJU has provided buttery-soft, ultra lightweight UPF 50 plus sun shirts for women, men, and teens. JOJU's UV sun shirts protect against 98% of both the UVA and UVB rays. Valerie resides in Miami, Florida, and is also the founder and CEO of Munchkin Fun, Florida's largest digital parenting publication. And I really want to dive into that too, because holy smokes, Valerie, I think you have a lot going on. So take us through a little bit more about your background and all of these amazing projects you work on.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here today. And I'm a big believer in all the things that you guys are doing in sun protection and sort of spreading the word about the importance and feasibility of sun protection increasingly. So I'm happy to be here. As you mentioned, I am from Miami. I am a mom. I've got 3 now teenage daughters. And both businesses, both Munchkin Fun and JOJU, came from a place of personal need. So in 2008, I had my first daughter. I was on maternity leave trying to find things to do with her and couldn't figure out why there was no central database of events happening in our neighborhood in the way that there might have been in the newspaper when I was a kid. So I developed a centralized calendar that aggregates all family-friendly events by neighborhood, and launched Munchkin Fun. And let's call it 15 years later, I hit my 40s and grew up in Miami, and all 4 decades of sun damage sort of started emerging. In my 20s, I had a basal cell, which upon reflection was one of the best things that ever happened to me, because it kind of instantly scared me into being much more cautious and responsible. So in COVID, I was living in Miami and spending increasing amounts of time outdoors. I'm a big believer in spending time outside, and in just sort of time spent in nature is good for mind, body, and soul. And in COVID, that felt extra important. Right. And I was lucky enough to be living in Miami then, so I was able to be outside. I started buying sun shirts because just the sheer amount of it wasn't using sunscreen was increasingly difficult given like the scope of what we were talking about. And I couldn't find a sun shirt I liked. I felt like everything in the market was either built more for a fisherman or a triathlete, or the brands that I found more aesthetically in line with what I was looking for, it just wasn't loving the fabric. Some were trapping odor, some were feeling like a little too synthetic. I kept thinking to myself, why doesn't Lululemon or Aloe make a sun shirt? Mm-hmm. And around the same time, I was sort of thinking, perhaps it's time to dive into a new professional adventure. So I decided to take the leap. I have no background in retail or apparel, so you can imagine that it has been a long, windy road. I started literally by Googling how to make a shirt.
That's funny.
So I have learned an enormous amount in the last couple of years, which has been really great because the learning curve has been high and it's keeping me super engaged. And there's so many interesting things happening in 2025, but this was 2020 in the last 5 years that I've learned about how to manufacture, market, style, design, all that. So it took us about 18 months to find the right fit and the right fabric. I tested about 25 fabrics, both for feel, UPF certification. It was interesting. A lot of the mills were saying their fabrics were UPF 50 plus, but they couldn't provide the lab certification. Yeah. And so I ended up finding an independent lab that would test the fabric for me. So we tested a bunch of fabrics, and then just, fit and feel was of utmost importance to me once we sort of were able to verify the sun protection. So we made, I've blocked out how many shirts and samples, a lot, but we finally found this amazing Italian fabric that feels as good as it looks, and designed the cut to to be in the aesthetic that we were looking for, and went to market in 2022.
That's so funny. So my follow-up question to that was, do you have a background in design? And you basically started saying like, all right, I have this need. I'm going to Google it and figure it out. And I'm sure figuring out all this stuff with the fabric too, I can't even imagine how much of a journey that was for you to figure out the right fabric, that you didn't want to just settle for something that worked. You really wanted the best of the best.
Absolutely. I would have rather not done it than settle.
Yeah.
There was no point. There exists many shirts on the market that are fine. We wanted to make one that was great.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's fascinating too that you talk about the fabric certifications, because there was recently an article that came out last month that there was a manufacturer in China that was producing faulty certifications and faulty products, and there were hundreds of thousands of units that were sold as UPF that were basically falsified products. So now consumers, we've heard a lot from our customer base saying like, yes, we want products that are amazing, that defy the odds of what we think UPF clothing can do, but we also want a brand that we can trust, that we can go to, that is doing the research, that we know has our backs. And I think by creating a product for yourself, first and foremost, you're like, why would I create a product that doesn't keep me safe? Like, that's the whole point of why I did this, is I want to be outdoors and I want to be sun safe.
Absolutely. And I want to create something that I feel good about wearing, that I can throw on in the morning and wear all day, and wear to our daughter's soccer game, but then also wear to lunch, or that has an aesthetic that I feel comfortable sort of hanging out in all day, in addition to being protective.
So what did that iteration process kind of look like once you figured out, all right, here's a manufacturer I feel comfortable with, here's the fabric, here's our many iterations of design? How did you kind of get from point A to point B of, all right, here's our MVP, here's our first product, where do we go from here?
Yeah, absolutely. So we did exactly as you said. After we finally settled on a style and a fit and fabric, which again each of those things took much longer than anticipated. We got to an MVP and we made let's call it about 50 units, just to sort of test proof of concept, and started a Shopify site and just sort of threw it out there and waited to see if anybody who wasn't related to me or knew me would buy one. And if they would, even if my friends who bought one would wear it again, And what I found out surprisingly quickly was that people really were wearing the shirts. I knew that my friends would buy it once, but I didn't know if they would wear the shirt after they sent me a photo of them in the shirt,
right. Uh-huh.
And people really started wearing it and liking it. And I think we timed it organically well, in the sense that it seems like there's an increasing amount of awareness about the importance of sun protection and sun safety, and skincare, and all these things seem to be coalescing at the same time. So people are more interested in protecting themselves from the sun than they might have been, call it 10, 15 years ago, or at least sort of the general population, right? Mm-hmm. And what we have found is that if we made a product that people look good, feel good in, and that works, and they're willing to try it once, then they're jazzed about it existing, right? I think there's a bit of a mental leap sometimes. I live in Miami, it's very hot. People are so intimidated by the idea of wearing long sleeves. Yeah. But our shirts are moisture wicking, which keeps you dry, which actually keeps you cooler. And there's this odor control. So if you can get over the mental leap of putting on a long sleeve shirt when it's 90 degrees out, I've found that people are almost always pleasantly surprised about the ability to keep wearing it and the comfort level there. So we made these 50 as an MVP, and we got some validation there. We were doing that with a local manufacturer in Miami, which was great because we could go in and sort of see the factory and make this a little shorter, make this a little longer. But obviously that wasn't a sustainable plan moving forward. So then we started shopping for manufacturers overseas, and we looked at China, we looked at Mexico. We had very mixed results with final products and with fabric, frankly, even though we had spec'd a specific fabric. So we ended up working with a family-owned manufacturer in Europe. Our fabric is from Italy, so there was a lot of symbiosis there, which was really great. And then we did a slightly larger order to sort of test the concept on a wholesale basis. So we have this vision of rolling out, in addition to D2C, into country clubs and tennis shops and resorts and other places where our customers frequent and shop and recreate. And so we made a small wholesale size order and again got proof of concept there. And that carried us through to about 2024, end of 23. And now we've sort of we're at this place where we feel that we have proof of concept. We're really proud of our product and we have a lot of validation in its quality. And we're sort of now just trying to roll it out in a more formal basis, both on a D2C and a B2B based format.
Yeah, that's great insight. I think I saw, as I was kind of stalking you all's profiles in preparation for this episode, that you guys were looking at expanding into equestrian. Did I see that correctly?
Yep.
Okay.
So that's been a really interesting piece of this puzzle too. What we found is that our shirts, because they are slim fitting, they do have a slightly different aesthetic than a lot of the sun shirts on the market, which makes us a good fit for other outdoor recreation activities that sometimes you don't think of as, everybody assumes you're going to wear a sun shirt to play tennis or pickleball, or maybe to go on a long bike ride. But equestrians are big fans of sun shirts, and they need something that is slim fitting and that won't flap around when they're riding, and that can be layered under additional layers and things like that. So we've actually had great success in the equestrian market. And we also, I should say, the space that we're owning in the market is this premium space. So we are sort of very honest about the fact that our shirts are a bit more expensive than the other ones on the market. And that is because we decided to double down on using a premium fabric and to make some design choices that make our shirts a little bit more expensive to produce, but also look better on you. So we have a rounded sleeve that is more flattering for the arm. We have thumb holes that are good for protecting your hands, but each of those decisions makes the shirt construction a bit more expensive. So we're really sort of honest about the fact that we are a premium product in a very crowded space, and certain verticals align with that, right? So equestrian, I don't think it's a surprise to anybody that tends to be sort of an expensive sport, right? All the gear and all the and the horses and things like that. And we're increasingly finding other niche sports like that, which has been great. So one of our customers is a big ultra marathon runner. And she loves JOJU for her long, she does crazy multi-hour treks and hikes and runs. And she's been sort of like a beautiful ambassador for us in that market. My oldest daughter is a rower. If I can get a teenager to wear sun protection, I've already won. But she sometimes will wear our shirts when she rows. So we're looking at other verticals as we grow.
I think that's really good insight that a lot of people, I guess, aren't aware of unless they're in kind of the manufacturing, creating space, that each of the design elements that you decide on, so like even the difference of adding a zipper to a garment or not, adds up. And I think people don't recognize like how quickly those features start to add up, where customers come and say, well, we want thumb holes, and say, okay, well, that will increase it, a couple dollars per unit. Will you be willing to pay that at, kind of the end result? And people are like, oh, it costs that. It's just so funny. It's things, once you're into the process of like those little things, they really do add up. And if you want to make a premium product, it's going to be expensive.
Absolutely. The sleeve thing blew my mind. It was really important to me that we have these raglan sleeves, because if you think about like a square cut box sleeve, the whole torso of the shirt becomes boxy. And I wanted something that I was going to look good in, and that would flatter my arms and my shoulders and all those things. And that was just such a small little detail that created a notable uptick in expense.
Yes. Yeah, I think the price we pay for having things that look flattering, right? It is something we're normally willing to pay a premium for.
Yeah, I think so. At least, and that's the ethos of our brand. I would be the first to admit we didn't invent the concept of a sun shirt, right? There are a million versions on the market, and I think we each offer something different. And what JOJU is offering is a premium sun protective experience.
I am curious, how did you come up with the name JOJU?
Oh, that's a great question. So JOJU means tranquility in Japanese. And the idea is to encourage people to sort of find their zen outdoors, but to do it safely.
Oh, I love that. That is such a fun background. I do like that you are super passionate about spending time outdoors. So this kind of goes back to the fact as well of like you creating something for yourself and living in Florida, a very, very hot, muggy climate that you're right. It is really hard to get people to put on long sleeves if it's 90 degrees outside. But by testing this product and saying like, yep, I'm about to go for a hike and I'm going to be wearing this product, you become really your true testing demographic in a way.
Absolutely. Yeah, we are. I am building a product for myself and my peers.
All right, so we kind of talked about this already, but I think it's really important to touch on, what really sets you apart from other sun protected brands that are out there. We talked a little bit about, the difference in design and pieces like that, but I'm sure people looking, they are saying, wow, this is a more expensive price point. Why wouldn't I just go to Amazon? And I think some of that comes down to, that trusting a brand, like we mentioned before, you know, some manufacturers falsifying receipts and everything like that. But in your words, what sets you all apart?
So I think we have three big key points of difference, and that would be our independently certified UPF 50 plus protection. As I mentioned, we use a third party lab. Our premium Italian fabric, which is incredibly soft and performance. So it's quick drying, odor wicking, and it doesn't wrinkle. I mean, it's just a great fabric. And then our third point of difference is the design ethos that we put behind our product. So we're really looking to create slim fitting, chicly designed shirts that you can wear both for your outdoor endeavor and, brunch after.
Yeah, I think that's a great mission. And I kind of want to go back a little bit because I did kind of gloss over this and I am curious. Why did you guys decide to focus on just sun shirts, and is there plans to kind of grow into different products?
That's also a wonderful question. So I really believe strongly in doing one thing and doing it well. And we are very focused on building sort of tentpole pieces in an outdoor wardrobe. So that is why we make one product that we're really proud of. And also we do only solid colors. Like our intent is we understand that we are expensive and that we're an investment. And we want to create long lasting products in people's outdoor capsule wardrobes. So to say to somebody, buy a solid color, timeless JOJU shirt, it'll last you forever. Our sun protection is baked into our fabric based off the fibers and the way that it is knit together. It's not a chemical applied in a mill. So the sun protection will not wash out over time. It will not fade. It'll last the duration of the product itself. So buy our classically designed pieces and then pair them with your favorite pattern or tennis skirt, things like that. So at the moment, we really are sticking true to this mission of creating the perfect sun shirt. And there's a chance that, down the road, maybe we'll add in the perfect sun pant or the perfect neck gaiter. But for now, I feel like this need is not tapped yet. I think it's easy to get distracted by lots of other things. But if we can create one core tentpole product that people can rally around, I think for us, that's when we'll know we're ready to move to the next item.
So I have kind of rapid fire Q&A for you. So you wake up on, a beautiful early fall morning, put on your JOJU shirt. Where are you going? What are you doing? Take us through your day.
Absolutely. Well, so as I mentioned, I've got 3 kids. They're all still in the house. I live in Miami. So there's always the 45-minute chaos of the getting everybody out of the house. If I'm not driving carpool, I'm putting on my JOJU and walking probably around 4 miles. I vary. I have a few routes. So I try to walk like 3 to 5 miles a day. I am a big believer in getting a sweat on, right? So then I'll hit a Pilates class or weight training, and then I do a couple hours of work. I'm out all the time still wearing my JOJU. I'll grab lunch with a friend, and then the end of the day cycle begins, right? The pickups and the dinner and the homework and the attending to the kids. But my JOJU is with me throughout the day until I hop in the shower.
I love that. I guess that kind of answers my next question. Are you a morning bird or a night owl? It sounds like with kids, you're a morning bird.
Definitely a morning bird for sure. My best days, I'm in bed in the, late 9s, early 10s.
Yes, I understand that. I have a 5-month-old, and
Congrats.
I always was a morning bird, and like to go to bed at 9 p.m. and we're finally getting back into the routine where he goes down at 7:30 and doesn't wake up until 6:30. And I'm like, it is magical to be back in a routine. I feel like I can focus again and like actually get stuff done.
Oh yeah, I understand that. Having a routine is critical for me.
It is critical. Yeah, no, I agree. It is critical. Well, for anyone listening, they want to connect with you, they want to learn more about JOJU, maybe even you. Where can they connect to shop and connect on social media and learn more?
Absolutely. So we are Live JOJU everywhere. So livejoju.com on Facebook and Instagram. We're at Live JOJU, and I love it. We're always available. Anyone I should say, we have free shipping and returns on all orders. I'm a big believer that once you put on our product, you'll want to keep us.
I love that. We'll include that in the show notes so people can easily connect with you. But Valerie, thank you so much for your time today and sharing a little bit more about JOJU. Hopefully this is just the beginning of a partnership and we can continue to support you. But thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you. It's so nice to meet you, and congratulations on all you're doing here. It's an amazing thing.